My marriage to Claire Hayes, a person I had known since childhood, had lasted for 1 year, and during that time she was always involved in some kind of public gossip. On the day the man she had always loved returned to the country, I chose not to return home after work. She looked for me everywhere, causing a significant commotion across the city. When she finally reached me by phone, her voice sounded unsteady. "Adam? Why didn't you come home?" When I eventually arrived home from my office, I could hear the sounds of laughter and movement coming from the second floor. I had only just removed my shoes when a man wearing one of my bathrobes ran down the stairs. He went into the kitchen and casually took a carton of milk from the refrigerator, behaving as if he owned the place. I didn't need to ask who he was. I understood he was just another one of the men Claire Hayes had invited over. This was the 9th time it had happened this month. "Hello, Mr. Vance," the man said, offering me a pleasant smile. "Working late again, I see." He looked familiar, possibly a popular young actor I had seen in advertisements recently. "Yes," I replied in a flat tone, and began walking toward my bedroom. Before I got there, I heard more footsteps on the wooden staircase. Claire was standing there in a silk robe, which was open at the collar, giving her an appearance of careless allure. "Are you finished down there? We aren't done yet," she called out. Her voice was a little rough, which gave it an unintentionally suggestive quality. It was very clear what she meant by finished. Claire possessed a striking and somewhat distant kind of beauty, but her actions were often careless and self-destructive, like someone who didn't care about the consequences. "I'll be right up, Ms. Hayes," the actor replied. He gave me a fawning and victorious look, as if he was trying to communicate that it wouldn't be long before he was the permanent resident of the mansion. I chose to ignore both of them and continued walking directly to my room. While I was walking through the living room, I noticed a familiar woody fragrance in the air. When I looked in the trash can, I saw the broken glass fragments of my preferred bottle of cologne. I frowned and asked, "Who broke my cologne?" The household staff members remained quiet. The actor, who had paused on his way up the stairs, let his voice drift down with a playful tone that held no apology. "That was my fault. I was just playing around with Ms. Hayes and bumped into it by accident. It wasn't deliberate. You aren't upset, are you, Mr. Vance?" He said this while holding on to Claire's arm, as if he had found someone to protect him. My wife, Claire, showed no sign of offering an explanation. Naturally, I was not in a position to argue with Claire Hayes. My company's survival was dependent on her family's support. I forced a smile and acted as if it didn't bother me. "Of course not. I am confident Ms. Hayes will purchase a trust replacement for me, correct?" I looked directly at Claire. Her eyes were completely cold. I was accustomed to this expression, but seeing it still caused a painful feeling in my chest. She just scoffed, not even bothering to reply, and walked straight upstairs. "Ms. Hayes, slow down! Wait for me!" My marriage to Claire was a formal business deal. To be more accurate, my father had become very sick, and our family company was facing serious financial trouble. The solution was for me to marry into the Hayes family to secure their financial backing. She and I had known each other since we were children. She was 1 year older than I was. However, Claire was in love with another person, a man named Marcus who had moved abroad, which prevented them from being together. She agreed to marry me only because of significant pressure from both of our families. In the year we had been married, she had treated me with extreme coldness. Bringing different men back to the house was a regular occurrence for her, and being involved in public scandals was nothing new. It was her method of rebelling against her family, and by extension, against me. But she had not always been so harsh with me. When I was young, and my stepmother would invent reasons to punish me, Claire would often intervene and protect me. She told me that I should always fight back if I was bullied, and she even assisted me in playing tricks on my stepmother. I had developed romantic feelings for her when we were children, even though she always seemed to find me bothersome. Then, during high school, Marcus appeared, and she and I grew distant. I concealed my feelings for her in the most hidden part of my heart, where nobody would ever be able to discover them. The following morning, a brand new bottle of the same cologne was placed on the table in the living room. However, Claire was not there. She had left to go out somewhere. I was occupied with my work and did not have the free time to monitor her activities. My father's entertainment company had been in a state of disorder, and after I took control, I had to personally resolve every single issue. I am not even sure how I managed to get through that difficult period. I was in the process of reviewing a contract when my best friend, Tom, began calling my phone repeatedly. "Please make this quick, Tom. I am very busy." "Marcus is back." My fingers stopped moving. I nearly let my phone fall from my hand. Marcus. The man Claire was in love with. "It's from a reliable source. He is scheduled to land at the airport this evening." "Hey, Adam Vance, did you hear what I said?" Tom's voice was filled with urgency, as if he were more concerned about the situation than I was. "I heard you," I answered calmly, pretending that the news did not affect me. "That's all you have to say? Man, that is your main rival. Aren't you concerned that you're about to be replaced?" "Our marriage is just a formality. I have no control over her actions. Besides, the position of Claire Hayes' husband was never truly mine in the first place." I used the excuse of being busy and ended the call. After I settled down, I recalled that there was a formal gala scheduled for tonight, which Claire and I were supposed to attend as a couple. I found my message history with her. The most recent message was from me, informing her about the gala. She had never sent a reply. Since Marcus was back, it seemed certain that I would be attending the event by myself tonight. I drank a large cup of coffee to try and suppress the unpleasant feeling in my chest, and returned to my work. The gala was being held at the Grand Continental, a hotel that the Hayes family had a financial interest in. All of the attendees were from important and wealthy families. I navigated through the crowd, skillfully making professional connections. Suddenly, I noticed a person I recognized. It was Eliza Thorne, the actress who had won an Oscar last year. I had seen her films when I was in high school. At that time, she was a beloved public figure, and I was a significant admirer of her work. My company had attempted to sign her to a contract before, but we were not successful. Greeting her now might create an opportunity for a future partnership. "Ms. Thorne, hello? I am Adam Vance, the CEO of Summit Entertainment. I have heard of you. Ms. Hayes is your wife, isn't she?" I smiled. I was accustomed to this. Everyone knew me as Ms. Hayes' husband, but no one knew me as Adam Vance. Nonetheless, the Hayes family name was extremely useful. Eliza Thorne was very receptive to speaking with me. "Mr. Vance, it's quite busy down here. Should we find a more private area to talk in more detail? I have been interested in working with the Hayes family for some time. I can't believe you approached me first." Eliza graciously guided me to the second floor. We exchanged our business cards, and she expressed that she was looking forward to working with me. It was late by the time I left the event. She offered to have her personal driver take me home, but I declined her offer. "Until our next meeting, Mr. Vance." "Of course." As I observed her getting into her chauffeured vehicle, I felt a sudden sense of frustration. The hierarchy within this industry was so clear and unavoidable. If I were not associated with the Hayes family, none of these people would bother to speak to me. The night was dark, and the moon was obscured by clouds. I had been drinking alcohol, so I was unable to drive my car. I did not want to go back to the house anyway, so I hailed a taxi and instructed the driver to just drive around the city. The streets were mostly empty, with only the streetlights occasionally illuminating my face as we passed. I had 2 houses, but I felt I couldn't return to either one. I did not want to face my stepmother's critical and hurtful comments. And I certainly did not want to see Claire bringing Marcus home. I eventually went to the bar that Tom owns and stayed there until the early morning. The next day, Tom had to shake me to wake me up. "Man, your wife keeps calling my phone. It's becoming really annoying. Just please answer it." I groggily accepted the phone. The person on the other end of the line yelled, her voice shaking. "Adam Vance, where are you?" I'm at Tom's bar." "Why didn't you come home?" Her voice sounded strained, as if she had not slept. My mind felt slow for a moment. My head was throbbing. "That is none of your business." I hung up the phone, feeling annoyed, and saw Tom watching me with an expression like he was enjoying the dramatic situation. He gave me a thumbs-up gesture. "You finally showed some backbone." Oh no. Is Claire going to retaliate against me? I was extremely tired and didn't have the energy to think about it. I closed my eyes and fell back asleep. It was already afternoon when I arrived home. To my surprise, Claire was there, instead of being with the man she supposedly loved. She glared at me, then abruptly moved forward and pushed me against the door. "Adam Vance, you have a lot of nerve staying out the entire night." Claire's eyes examined me intensely, as if she were checking me for something. "Ms. Hayes, I am tired. Please don't bother me." "Tired? You seemed quite happy while you were talking with Eliza Thorne. What, did you finally meet your favorite actress and forget who you are?" Was that a trace of jealousy in her voice? "I was just speaking with her about a possible work collaboration. Why are you so concerned about it?" "Why do you think?" "A friend of mine sent a photograph of you two to our group message last night. Do you have any idea how embarrassing that was for me?" She was extremely angry, as if I had done something terrible to her. So, that was the reason. I knew she couldn't actually be worried about me. "Claire Hayes, isn't that a bit of a double standard? You are allowed to bring men to this house, so what is the problem if I talk to another woman?" "That is different." She stepped closer to me, and her distinct perfume filled the air around me. "I am warning you, Adam Vance. If you dare to be unfaithful to me while you are out, I will make you regret it." Her eyes were filled with a cold anger that seemed like it could freeze someone. What a hypocrite! What kind of person did she believe I was? I unclenched my hands, which I had made into fists, and forced myself to smile. "Don't worry. If I ever decided to do that, I would wait until after you were no longer alive. That way I could openly use your money to be with someone else." I reached out and straightened the collar of her robe, smoothing out a small wrinkle. 2 people could play this sort of game. "Adam Vance, you wouldn't dare," she said angrily, glaring at me. "Why don't you find out if I dare?" I gave her a smile and quickly went into my room. Outside, I heard the sound of a chair being kicked and falling over. I waited until I heard silence, before I came out to get something to eat. Mrs. Gable, the housekeeper, was serving me soup. Seeing my emotionless expression, she felt compelled to speak. "Sir, Madam was searching for you all night. She was extremely worried about you." And I had assumed her exhausted appearance was from a romantic evening with Marcus. But what did it really matter? She was only looking for me because she was afraid I would do something to embarrass her. That woman was more concerned about her reputation than anything else. I had not even completed my meal when I received a phone call requiring me to return to the office. One of the celebrities our company managed had been exposed for having a scandalous private life, and the company's phone lines were overwhelmed with calls. I had repeatedly told the managers to maintain strict control over our clients. How could something so damaging still occur? The financial damage was one problem, but the amount of time it would take to repair our company's reputation was another. As soon as I arrived at the office, I called an immediate meeting and spoke to them harshly. Do my instructions mean nothing? Didn't I tell all of them to protect their reputations? Are they tired of their careers? The managers stood there trembling, their faces pale, and they avoided looking at me. I took a deep breath and instructed them to provide a report on the current public reaction. Get the public relations team on this. Do not try to deny it. Terminate his contract immediately and release a formal statement of apology from the company. Mr. Vance, besides him, the report mentioned another artist by name. One of ours? Yes. The manager's voice was almost a whisper. My stomach suddenly felt tight, and I nearly broke the pen I was holding. Terminate the contract. Terminate all of them and make them pay for the financial damages. After the meeting concluded, the group left the room, clearly shaken. I rarely showed my anger in front of them. They were probably in a group chat at that very moment, complaining about me. I opened my messaging application and saw a large number of notifications. Some people were laughing at my company's misfortune, while others were making insulting comments. They all knew I was Ms. Hayes' husband and were excited to see the man who married for money experience a downfall. It was the most interesting gossip they had heard in a while. It was 10:00 p.m. by the time I finished resolving all the issues at the office. I felt completely exhausted as I headed out. My assistant advised me to use the back exit. The reporters were still waiting at the front entrance. I used the elevator to go to the underground parking garage, but before I could get to my car, a group of people suddenly surrounded me. Mr. Vance, what are your comments on the scandal involving the popular idol Ryan Smith? Your company is known for its strict management. Why did an incident like this still happen? Mr. Vance, the TOS national newspapers have already published a critical article. Did the Hayes family not provide you with any assistance before this news became public? The constant questions and the bright flashes from the cameras made my head ache. Excuse me, it is after business hours. These questions. I moved backward until my back was against a wall. My shoe slipped on something, perhaps a small rock, and I almost lost my balance. Suddenly, a person rushed in and pulled me into an embrace. A familiar, clean scent surrounded me. That is enough. My husband is not required to answer your questions. If you have any inquiries, you can direct them to me. You are all very hardworking. I have made a list of all your publications. I will be sure to visit each of you and deliver a banner of appreciation one of these days. Claire's words were spoken slowly and carefully, and her eyes moved over the crowd with a dismissive expression. The group of reporters became silent. A few seconds later, they dispersed. I tried to move away from her, but she held my shoulders firmly. Why are you pulling away? Don't you realize you twisted your ankle? I was wondering why you weren't home yet. I thought you had been captivated by someone new again. She scoffed, behaving as if she were genuinely afraid I was going to be unfaithful to her. I wanted to argue, but the world around me turned dark, and I lost consciousness in her arms. Hey, are you trying to pretend to be injured? Adam? When I regained consciousness, the strong smell of disinfectant filled the room. My assistant was sitting nearby, watching me. Mr. Vance, you are finally awake. The young man's eyes were red. For a moment, I thought I had a serious illness. I looked around the room, but she was not there. Just as a feeling of disappointment settled in my chest, Claire entered, carrying a handful of bags. She threw the payment receipts onto the table and began opening the bags. You are awake? The doctor said you have low blood sugar and some stomach issues. I didn't know what you would want to eat, so I bought a small amount of everything." She handled the containers awkwardly, almost spilling the porridge. When had the proud princess who never did any chores learned how to take care of someone? Seeing that she was present, my assistant quickly made an excuse and left the room. "I don't have an appetite," I said, shaking my head. My mind was already preoccupied with what the headlines would be tomorrow. Claire frowned, and her tone made it clear I had no choice. "You must eat. Grandpa came to visit you earlier. He said you have lost weight, and he thought I was not taking proper care of you." So, she had been reprimanded. I knew her concern couldn't have been genuine. I managed a weak smile and looked at the IV tube in my left hand. It would be in for a while. "Just leave the food there. I can't eat in this condition anyway." She followed my gaze and made an impatient sound. "Tisk, you are so much trouble." With that, she picked up a bowl of millet porridge and began to feed it to me. She was frowning, and although she appeared reluctant, she waited for each spoonful to cool down before she brought it to my lips. I couldn't stop wondering what kind of effort Marcus had put in to make this arrogant woman so considerate. Or perhaps, when she was with someone she truly loved, being kind was just natural for her. After I finished eating the porridge, she started to apply medicine to my foot. She held my swollen ankle in her hands, which made it look very fragile. My back became stiff, and I felt extremely nervous. This was one of the few times we had ever been this physically close, and it had to happen in a hospital. She glanced up at me, a small smile on her lips. "Why are you so tense? Are you afraid I'm going to hurt you?" Her voice had a playful quality to it. Anyone else hearing her might have thought she was flirting with me. I didn't want to embarrass myself, so I remained quiet, trying to control my breathing to prevent myself from blushing. She carefully picked up a cotton swab and treated my injury with a gentle touch, as if she were handling something very delicate. Watching her focused expression, I couldn't help but recall how she used to be. A wild, vibrant girl, like a moon high in the sky. I had tried to get close to that moon once, but she was always too far away. A ringtone interrupted my thoughts. Claire answered her phone, her voice sounding irritated. Before she left in a hurry, she gave me instructions. "Adam, something important came up at the office. I have to go. If you need anything, call the house and have Mrs. Gable bring you food." That was strange. She had always been rebellious, hated schedules, and rarely participated in her family's company business. The corporate scandal eventually faded from the news. Claire stopped bringing men to the house, but she also began to disappear for several days at a time. At noon, the family's driver brought me lunch. I found the food to be a bit odd for the past few days. Mrs. Gable's cooking had always been very consistent. Why had the quality suddenly decreased? I forced myself to eat the meal, and then I received an email from the actress, Eliza Thorne, who was actively suggesting a collaboration. Our company had a new series in development, a patriotic drama that seemed like it would be a perfect fit for her. Even though I knew she was only interested because of the Hayes family, I chose to overlook it. At the very least, her participation would bring some prestige to my company. I happily replied to her email, arranging a time to discuss the project in more detail. Suddenly, a gossip alert appeared on my computer screen. The headline read, "Hayes Harris plays hero in late-night rescue, sparking rumors of a new romance." The photo that came with it showed Claire shielding a man behind her while confronting another person. Her fierce, protective posture was clear, but my attention was focused on the blurry outline of the man she was defending. Even just from his shape, I could tell that it was Marcus. No wonder my assistant and other employees had been acting so strangely when I came to work today. The happiness I had felt just moments before disappeared. A heavy ache spread through my chest. So that was what Claire had been busy with for the past few days, spending time with him. And I had been naive enough to believe she was busy with company matters. She could stay out all night, but she still felt she had the right to control me? It was ridiculous. I looked at Eliza Thorne's reply, which subtly hinted at her wish to meet my grandfather-in-law. I clenched my fists and took a deep breath. Why did I have to be known only as Miss Hayes's husband? I am Adam Vance. The next moment, I picked up my phone and dialed a number. Hello, Mr. Cohen? I need you to prepare a divorce agreement for me. What? Does Ms. Hayes know about this? Why would I need her permission to get a divorce? Perhaps my tone was too cold. The person on the other end of the line paused and then said nothing more. Mr. Cohen was very efficient. On Friday, just after I had finished a meeting, I noticed I had several missed calls from Claire. I called her back. The instant she answered, she began screaming, "Adam Vance, what is the meaning of this?" You are not illiterate, Ms. Hayes. I assume you are capable of reading the document. Ha, a divorce? Do you believe the Hayes family is a place you can just enter and leave whenever you want? I looked down, thinking about all the assistance her grandfather had given me. Don't worry. I will leave with nothing. I will not take a single cent from you. Your family helped me, and if you ever require assistance in the future, you can always call me. I could hear her gritting her teeth through the phone. In your dreams, Adam Vance. You are not allowed to leave until I permit it. Childish. I frowned and lowered my voice. Claire, how long are you going to continue to humiliate me? The other end of the line went silent, as if she was surprised by my question. Even if I am indebted to your family, I am not your punching bag. All this time, I have received many benefits under the title of Ms. Hayes's husband, but I have also done a lot for the Hayes family in return, and in the end, people don't even remember my name. They just whisper about me behind my back. I sighed. Claire, I am tired. I want to be myself. She was quiet for a long time, so long that I thought she might not have been listening. I tore up the divorce papers. I don't care what your reasons are, but if you want a divorce, you will come and talk to me about it in person. The call ended. I frowned, a feeling of irritation washing over me. Was it my imagination? Or did her voice sound like she was trying to hold back tears? I brought the divorce papers home with me, but she did not return that night. Not only that, but she also refused to answer any of my calls. I didn't have time to participate in her games. I packed my belongings, moved out of the house, and decided to file for the divorce through the court system. On Sunday, I was at the house gathering the rest of my things. The maids offered to assist me, but I told them not to. They all watched me nervously, afraid to say anything. I thought I had a lot of possessions, but in the end, everything fit into just 2 suitcases. Everything that remained in the house were the suits and watches Claire had given me to maintain our public image. Suddenly, the door was thrown open with a loud noise. Claire stormed into the room, her face looking grim, and she smelled of old alcohol. I had no interest in knowing which bed she had just come from. She stared at me, her voice cold. Huh? Already packed? I ignored her and closed the latch on my suitcase. Something I did must have angered her, because she angrily walked forward and grabbed my arm. Adam Vance, are you trying to die? I did not agree to a divorce. Who gave you permission to leave? I looked at her agitated expression. The last time I had seen it was in that gossip article when she was protecting Marcus. A feeling of sadness came over me, and I looked at her with a blank expression. Claire, since I married you, I have not had a single day that felt like my own. Not one day where I was genuinely happy. How do you expect me to continue living like this? Forcing me to live in this situation is the real death sentence. Her hand on my arm loosened, as if she was startled by the finality in my voice. Ms. Hayes, let's just end this on good terms. I pulled her hand off my arm and picked up my suitcases. She just stood there, looking like a lost child. Were you that unhappy with me? I don't know how she had the audacity to ask that question. Adam, you were the one who said you wanted to marry me. Before she could finish her sentence, her throat seemed to tighten and her eyes turned red. I turned away from her and said coolly, I guess I was a poor judge of character back then. Are you satisfied? You? She was furious, her face turning pale. I dragged my suitcases out of the room as she yelled after me in anger. Fine, a divorce it is! Adam Vance, you better not regret this! Claire had her secretary deliver the divorce documents. As I signed my name, the secretary stood nearby, looking as if he wanted to say something to me. Claire picked up her pen, hesitated for a few seconds, and then quickly wrote her name. It was finally finished. In that moment, I felt an incredible feeling of relief. Like a balloon that had been released, I was free to go wherever I wanted. I left with my luggage. Claire remained in her study the entire time. She had glared at me throughout the signing process, looking like she wanted to attack me. It was strange. Now that we were divorced, she could be with Marcus openly. Shall I give you a ride? The secretary asked politely, reaching for my suitcase. I shifted it slightly away from his hand. No, thank you. My car is already here. His expression stiffened, and he gave a brief nod. I got into the taxi, fastened my seatbelt, and took one final look at the place where I had lived for a year. The extravagantly decorated mansion was huge and cold. I had a small apartment in the city. It was nothing like this place, but at least it was mine. The car had only traveled a few hundred feet when a breeze came in through the open window. As I reached to close it, I glanced in the rear-view mirror and saw a figure run out of the mansion's front gate. Claire? She was running very fast, not even paying attention to the fact that she had lost one of her high-heeled shoes. Adam! Her voice sounded like the desperate cry of a young bird. The rest of her words were carried away by the wind as her figure became smaller in the distance. The sunlight reflected off her white shirt as it moved in the wind, looking just like the proud, distant moon I used to secretly watch when we were young. I closed the window, leaving the past behind me. Driver, please go faster. Without the title of Ms. Hayes's husband, I was certain to lose some of my professional connections. But I had not been unproductive all those years. Some genuine partners wanted to continue working with me, so I offered them improved terms in exchange. In September, my old high school invited me to return and give a speech for its 100th anniversary event. My schedule was free, so I decided to accept. If it was needed, I could donate some money for a charitable cause. It would also be positive publicity for my company. The day I returned to my old school was also the first day for the new students. The fresh, young faces of the high schoolers walking by made me feel nostalgic. Before the speech, I wandered around the campus. Claire and I had attended the same school, but were in different classes, though that didn't prevent me from trying to see her whenever I could. For some reason, ever since I had arrived here, memories of her kept entering my mind, and I couldn't stop them, and I was supposed to be moving on from her. I walked into what had been my old classroom, room 306. The students were all busy finding their dorm rooms and had not come to class yet. I sat down in my old seat. The desk was the same, and I could even see some of the scratches I had made on it. Back then, it was a common theme in television shows to carve the name of the person you liked on your desk, or write it in a hidden corner of a textbook. A secret declaration in an unknown place, copying the romance from the dramas. I had done something that foolish back then, too. That confession was carved on the underside of the desk. Even in such a hidden spot, I was terrified someone would discover it. So I had carved, "I like Eliza Thorne." Eliza Thorne was the beloved actress of our generation. Every guy had a crush on her. I admired her because of a movie she was in, where her character's personality was very similar to Claire's. So I used her name as a substitute for the one I couldn't say. I bent down to look under the desk and saw that my secret had been found. The name Eliza Thorne had been aggressively scratched out. Next to it, someone had written, "Claire Hayes." I was shocked. When did she find this? And how? It felt like something was trying to emerge from my memory, but it was covered in a thick fog. My head suddenly began to ache. I stood up quickly and hit my forehead on the desk, a dull pain spreading through me. "Adam?" A gentle, surprised voice called my name. I turned and saw my old homeroom teacher, Mrs. Peterson, standing outside the window. "Oh my, it really is you. I thought I was mistaken." "Mrs. Peterson." I went out to greet her, and we talked about my life and the reason I was back. Mrs. Peterson was close to retirement, but her face was as kind as I remembered. She was my English teacher, and her class was always my favorite. "I heard you married Claire Hayes. I see news about you two online sometimes. Such a handsome couple." I forced a smile. The divorce had not been reported in the news. Only people in our social circle knew about it. I could tell back in high school. She was really into you. "High school?" I frowned. Back then, Claire was in the same class as Marcus. We hardly ever spoke to each other. "Oh, yes. You might not know this, but Claire used to get into fights quite often. Her homeroom teacher, the math teacher, was at his wits' end. Even with her good grades, she couldn't afford to be skipping class all the time. One time she was standing in the office as a punishment, and the math teacher pressed her for a long time, asking why she was being so rebellious. What she said then, all of us in the teacher's lounge still remember it. "What did she say?" I asked. She said, "Those people deserved it. No one gets to bully Adam." And then she begged us not to tell you because she was afraid it would affect your grades. She smiled, and the wrinkles at the corners of her eyes seemed warm and kind. I was completely confused. I had no knowledge of any of this. There were some unpleasant, wealthy girls in high school who always stayed together like a gang. They knew my mother had passed away, and they spread rumors about me all the time. Calling me names was a daily thing, and if they were in a bad mood, they would lock me in a storage closet. Unfortunately, my dad was not as powerful as their fathers, so he just told me to endure it. So all those times Claire came to school with bruises, was it because she was defending me? But after we got married, she bullied me too. Before I left, my teacher asked for my autograph, saying her daughter was a big fan of mine. Since when was I so famous? On the airplane returning to the city, my finger paused over my phone's screen. I considered calling Claire to ask her about what I had just learned. After some thought, I decided it would be better to speak with her about it in person. I looked out the window at the white clouds, my thoughts feeling very confused and disorganized. However, events did not go as planned. The aircraft ran into severe weather conditions, which resulted in a mechanical problem. My assistant, who was seated beside me, began to panic, grabbing my hand and starting to sob. The lights inside the cabin flickered erratically, and other passengers began to shout and cry out in fear. My head started to hurt again, and I experienced a powerful feeling of agitation. The pilot executed emergency procedures and, against difficult odds, was able to perform an emergency landing on the ocean's surface. We were all left floating in the water, wearing our life vests. I was attempting to reach my assistant when a powerful undercurrent pulled me beneath the surface. I felt a wave of panic, struggled against the water, and slowly lost my awareness of everything. When I woke up, I was in a place I did not recognize. The house was constructed from brick and mud, covered in dust, and everything around me looked old and run down. A middle-aged woman dressed in simple clothes walked in and smiled at me. "You are finally awake. Here, drink some medicine so your wounds don't get infected." I tried to sit up, but my entire body ached. It felt as if I had a broken rib, and my foot was swollen to a large size. I looked at my hands. They were covered in small cuts. The woman's name was Sarah. She had discovered me on the beach. She said the undercurrent must have thrown me against many rocks to cause so many injuries. She had thought I was dead, but something about my appearance looked familiar, so she brought me back to her home, and it turned out I was still alive. This place was a small fishing village, located between the mountains and the sea. Most of the men worked temporary jobs in other places or fished for a living, while the women stayed home to cook, clean, and manage small farms. For days, Sarah took care of me. I was weak and felt cold, and my wounds were not healing. I was drifting in and out of consciousness most of the time. The medical care available here was very limited, and traveling to the city required a long and difficult journey over mountain roads. If I had not seen it for myself, I would never have believed that in this modern age of technology, such a remote place still existed. Sarah was giving me my medicine when she looked at me with a sheepish expression. "Adam, we have gotten to know each other a little. Could you possibly give me your autograph?" "My autograph?" I frowned. This was the second time someone had asked me for that. "My son works in the town, and he brought back a magazine. I saw you in it. You are a big star. I heard that a star's autograph can be sold for money. Is that true?" she asked eagerly. But then she seemed to feel her question was too focused on money and couldn't look me in the eyes. "Adam, I don't mean anything bad by it. I just want to save up some money for my son's wedding." I looked at her, confused. "Sarah, I think you have mistaken me for someone else." As far as I could recall, I had never been featured in any magazines. "No, it's not a mistake. The dimples you have when you smile are exactly the same as that handsome movie star's. I might not have seen much of the world, but I have a good eye." She spent a long time searching through her belongings and finally found the dirty magazine cover. The glossy paper was stained with soot, but I saw a face that was identical to mine. The man in the picture was smiling with incredible confidence, holding a carefully planned pose. That feeling of something trying to break through my memory returned. My head throbbed with pain. It felt like some of my memories were trapped in a box, and I could not find the key. To repay Sarah for her kindness and to try and speed up my recovery, I asked her to let me borrow a phone. Only a few people in the entire village owned a phone, and they were all old basic models. There was no signal inside the house. Sarah was going up the mountain to chop firewood and offered to take me with her to try and find a signal. She supported me the entire way, and I felt immensely grateful to her. A dull pain came from my ribs. I bit my lip. Herbal remedies alone were not going to heal these kinds of injuries. Sarah went off to chop wood, and I moved around slowly, trying to find a signal. Finally, on the top of a small hill, I managed to get 2 bars of service. I called Tom, but he didn't answer. I quickly sent him a text message, asking him to come and find me. As I was waiting for his reply, a light rain began to fall. Sarah urged me to head back, saying the mountain path would become dangerous in the rain. That night, the rain became much heavier. A landslide blocked the only road leading out of the village. I stared at my phone, which showed no signal, and realized I could only wait. I lay in bed, hoping for the rain to stop. The fog was thick, and even the moonlight was faint. I couldn't help but wonder what Claire was doing right now. Was she whispering affectionately with Marcus, or was she lying in the arms of some young actor? And why did she do all those strange things that made me overthink everything? I felt a deep chill that no number of blankets could warm. It was still dark outside when Sarah woke me. "Adam, my sister-in-law said there are people down by the main road. I'm not sure if they are here to fix it or just passing through. But from the way they are dressed, they look like they are from out of town. Do you want to go and ask to borrow their phone? Maybe their city phones will work better." A small glimmer of hope appeared in my eyes. Maybe Tom had come for me. I struggled to get out of bed, and Sarah held an umbrella over me as we walked. I could see the faint light of flashlights on the mountain road. There seemed to be a lot of people. As we got closer, a familiar figure came into view. Claire was cursing quietly as she dug at the mud with her bare hands. "You are all a bunch of useless idiots. You can't even find one person. Didn't you say the signal was here? Why is no one here?" The men surrounding her did not dare to say a word. They just kept digging diligently, as if there were treasure buried beneath the mud. On the ground beside them was a pile of broken shovels. I couldn't imagine how much force had been used to break them. A bodyguard tried to stop Claire but was unsuccessful, so he just held an umbrella over her. "Adam, I'm going to find you soon. Just wait for me." "Wait for me," she muttered to herself, her voice breaking into a sob. I weakly walked toward her. "Claire." She didn't hear me, and continued digging. Her delicate, fair hands were already raw and bleeding from the rough soil. "Claire, I'm here." I raised my voice, and her body froze. Claire turned her head slowly, as if she could not believe what she was hearing. When she saw my face, the fury in her eyes softened instantly. The bodyguards all looked over, not daring to move. "Adam?" Her voice was hesitant, so soft it seemed as if she were afraid of scaring me away. "It's me." The words had barely left my lips when she stumbled toward me. She gently touched my face, feeling its warmth, and only then did she seem to believe that I was real. The next second, she pulled me into a tight, warm embrace. "Adam, I was wrong. Please don't leave me. I'll do anything you ask. Just don't do this to me. I'm begging you." She sobbed, her body soaked from the rain, the chill seeping into my clothes. She was holding me so tightly that it pressed against my injuries. "Ow," I winced, my brow furrowing in pain. She immediately let go, her eyes red with guilt when she saw my condition. Soon, she called for a helicopter to take me away. Before we left, Claire gave Sarah a large amount of money and promised to fund improvement projects for the entire village. On the helicopter, I think I was running a fever. I lay weakly in her arms. Under the bright lights, I finally got a good look at her. Her clothes were torn and filthy. Her face was smudged with dirt, as if she had just come out of a coal mine, and there were leaves in her hair. The elegant, high and mighty heiress was gone, and she looked no better than her disheveled bodyguards. The mountain road had been too narrow for cars, so they must have hiked in to find me. With the rain, I couldn't imagine how many times they must have fallen or been cut by sharp branches. A pang of sympathy hit me, and in my delirium, I clutched her shirt. "Claire, who am I really?" Her body stiffened, and she looked at me with a searching gaze. "You remember? You're my husband, Adam Vance." By the time we reached the hospital, Claire had collapsed as well. She was covered in small cuts, and after days of not sleeping, her body finally gave out. The first thing she did when she woke up was ask for me. During my recovery, Claire stayed by my side every day, forbidding me from worrying about the company. Whenever I brought up Marcus, she would look exasperated and insist that he was not the one she loved. If I was a famous actor, then who was the CEO of Summit Entertainment? I pressed Claire for answers, but she insisted on waiting until I was fully recovered. On Friday afternoon, my father, Richard Vance, came to visit. The moment he walked in, I barely recognized him. It was as if his face didn't exist in my memory. But why hadn't my own father come looking for me when I was in an accident? Why did he wait a whole week after I was hospitalized to visit? Adam, I've been so busy I'm just now getting a chance to see you. You're not mad at me, are you? Richard smiled kindly, but I saw only hypocrisy. He made small talk, but everything he said felt like he was probing me. I heard you and Claire divorced. Why? Wasn't she taking good care of you? Doesn't her grandfather like you? Why don't you go and beg him? Maybe he can talk some sense into her. I frowned, a sudden realization dawning on me. When I was acting as CEO, I never once saw Richard Vance. How could a father be so completely unaware of his own son's life, focusing instead on superficial things? He only cared about profit. I lowered my eyes, tired of the charade. I'm tired. You should go. Richard's smile froze on his face, but he didn't argue. Before he left, he gave me a gold credit card. He told me to dress myself up nicely, stop messing around, and even if I couldn't get back with Claire, I should try to find a woman who was even better. The hospital room door closed. I stared at the gold card on the table, and it felt like a glaring insult. If the only reason to raise a son was for him to marry a rich woman, then what was the point of all my education? A wave of resentment washed over me, and I grabbed the card and chased after him. Richard was waiting for the elevator. Standing next to him was a gaudily dressed woman. My stepmother, Brenda. I stood behind a large potted plant and heard her complaining. Your son has nothing to do with the Hayes family anymore. Why are you still giving him money? Keep your voice down. I saw some of the Hayes family's bodyguards nearby. I think Claire still has feelings for Adam. Fine, so what if she has feelings? They still got divorced. Brenda scoffed, and Richard didn't even try to argue. In fact, he seemed to agree with her. He looked at her stomach and sighed. All right, let's go check on the IVF situation. Don't worry. Even if I can't have a baby, I'll find someone to have one for you. My eyes widened, stunned by their twisted values. Fragments of memories flashed through my mind, and the headache returned. Brenda had health issues and had never been able to get pregnant after marrying him. They had tried IVF twice, without success. My father desperately wanted another, smarter child to inherit the business. No matter how hard I studied, he never gave me a second glance. So he was only here to see if I had any remaining value, to see if I could reconnect with the Hayes family. He had never intended to hand the company over to me. So where did Summit Entertainment come from? The headache intensified. A dull ache that felt like it was piercing my heart. My eyes burned, and I struggled to breathe. Suddenly, a hand covered my ears. Adam, don't listen. A crisp scent surrounded me, as an embrace shielded me from the noise. My headaches started again, but this time I remembered a lot of things. I remembered the oppressive atmosphere at my father's house. I remembered Claire pursuing me for a long time in college. I remembered being discovered by a scout and becoming a national heartthrob. Claire stood beside me, anxious and worried, and called for a woman. My former psychiatrist, Dr. Chen. She was also one of Claire's best friends. Dr. Chen asked me to describe how I was feeling, And then we talked for a long, long time. So long that I fell asleep. In my dream, I was a shining star. It felt like I had finally found the key to that locked box of memories. Everything inside came flooding out. My name is Adam Vance. I'm a famous actor, and I am Claire Hayes' husband. We were childhood sweethearts, secretly in love with each other. We dated in college and got married after graduation. She is so proud, always complaining that I'm trouble but still doing everything for me. I love my job. I love being on stage, shining. I don't want people to say I'm just a pretty face who depends on Claire. I want to be her equal. I want to prove to my father that I'm just as capable as anyone. But no matter how hard I worked, people would dismiss my efforts with a simple, "Well, you're Ms. Hayes' husband." It was as if I hadn't earned my success through my own talent, but that the Hayes family had bought it for me. At first, I didn't care what others thought. I believed my work would speak for itself, but the criticism and doubt were relentless. Then I took a role in a web series called The Ex-Husband's Return. It was a satisfying revenge drama where the wife has to grovel to win back the man she wronged. Tom and Marcus were both actors in it. While filming, I felt like the main character was an extension of myself. The protagonist divorces his wife to be his own man, builds his company into a top entertainment empire, gets his revenge on his ex, and crushes all the doubters under his feet. I wanted to be just like him. Gradually, after filming each day, I found it harder and harder to leave the character's emotions behind. Even when I did, I would feel disoriented. Sometimes I felt like the person in the show was the real me. In the end, I couldn't tell the difference between the script and reality. After the show wrapped, I couldn't shake the character, and I started acting strangely. I would suddenly kick Claire out of the bedroom to sleep on the couch or call her a player. I would see Tom in the makeup room and treat him like he was my actual brother. Claire noticed something was wrong and asked Dr. Chen to help. She diagnosed me with depression, saying I had gone too deep into my role and couldn't get out. I had mixed up my life with the TV show, creating my own personal script. Claire was afraid to intervene directly, so she found a way to walk me through it slowly. She hired a group of people to act along with me, practically bringing the entire entertainment industry to my doorstep. A voice echoed. "To your right is the script for The Ex-Husband's Return. Pick it up and rip it to shreds. Adam Vance, it's time to wake up." The day I recovered, Claire came to take me home. She cooked me a meal herself. It was barely passable. I finally understood why the food the driver had been bringing was so bad. She had been making it all. I looked at her with tears in my eyes, and she told me not to cry. But as soon as she said it, the tears started to fall. Claire held me and kissed them away. "I'm sorry. Adam, you did nothing wrong. I did it all willingly. As long as you don't leave me, I'd do more than just act. I'd risk my life for you." Her voice was hoarse, filled with the joy of having me back. What a fool. I lowered my head and kissed her, and she returned it fiercely. That evening, she was in the shower, but her phone on the table kept lighting up. "Claire, you're getting messages. It seems urgent. Can you reply for me?" She had always been like this. All her passwords were my birthday. I opened her phone and saw a string of messages from one of her friends, Greg. "Hey Claire, you gonna let me have that drone project or what?" Greg, don't play dead. Greg, if you don't give it to me, I'm sending this video to your husband. The video was of Claire drinking at a bar with friends. She was slumped over the table, her face flushed, clearly very drunk. "Hubby, hubby," she kept murmuring, like an abandoned kitten. Someone came over and patted her on the back. It was that troublemaker, Dr. Chen. "Hey, wake up. Stop calling for him. Your husband ran off with someone else." "That's not true. It's all your fault, you idiots, with your stupid ideas, making me actually get a divorce. If it weren't for you guys, would my husband have left?" she yelled, her voice thick with grievance. The group of single guys just laughed harder. Soon, they stopped laughing because Claire was crying her heart out. I had never seen her cry so freely, so broken. I recognized her outfit in the video. It was what she wore the day we signed the divorce papers. The day she ran out to chase after my car. A bitter pang went through my heart. I felt terrible for her. I was the real jerk for making her so miserable. Claire came out of the bathroom and saw my red-rimmed eyes. She immediately grew anxious. "What's wrong? Adam? Did I do something to upset you?" I was crying so hard I could barely speak, just kept repeating, "I'm sorry." She saw the messages on my phone and understood. "Adam, it's all in the past," she said, patting my back comfortingly. "Claire, why didn't you just send me to a hospital? Then I wouldn't have treated you like that. My Adam is so afraid of the dark. How could I ever leave you all alone in a place like that?" She gently squeezed my earlobe and wiped away my tears. But they wouldn't stop. No matter how many times she wiped them away, more came. After a month with Claire, my emotional state was back to normal. During that time, she never once mentioned getting remarried. I knew she was worried because of my illness. She was giving me time, letting me work on being Adam Vance. I decided to make a comeback and return to acting, the career I loved. Claire, as always, supported my decision unconditionally. After my comeback press conference, not a single production company or director contacted me, partly because I was no longer Ms. Hayes' husband, and partly because my medical history scared them off. But that was okay. I started over with my own studio. If I couldn't get good roles, I'd start with small parts. No matter how minor the character, I studied and perfected it. Claire quietly supported me from the sidelines, never interfering. 6 months went by like that. A director, impressed with my performance as a royal guard, decided to cast me as the 4th male lead in his movie, a villainous supporting role. Before filming, I read the script over and over until I knew the character inside and out. When the movie was released, a lot of people recognized me. Some fans edited together clips of my few scenes. Online comments went from, "He looks kind of familiar," to, "That's the guy who used to be a national heartthrob." I started to win back some of my old fans. Soon after, I started getting offers for small-budget short series. I got busy, so busy that I barely had time to see Claire. It was exhausting, but at the end of the day, people would say to me, "Great work today, Adam." Finally, I was no longer just Ms. Hayes' husband. It took me 5 years to get back to the peak of my career. My fans were always digging for information, so meeting up with Claire was like a spy mission, dodging everyone. We finally managed to meet at a hotel, and she was leaning against me, complaining, "You're a big star now. It's not easy getting to see you." "Can't be helped. Your husband is a career man." "Humph. So how are you going to make it up to me?" A familiar, lazy smile spread across her face. I cleared my throat awkwardly. "I have an early flight tomorrow morning." And so, don't stay up too late." Claire burst out laughing and wrapped her arms around my waist. "The compensation I had in mind was getting remarried. I didn't know the big star had something else on his mind." What I quickly covered, her mouth. The mischievous glint in her eyes was unmistakable. "Jerk." She was just messing with me. "I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm going to sleep." Don't be like that, baby. We finally get to see each other, and we've barely talked. I have nothing to talk to you about. Then let's communicate in a different way. You... The rest of my words were swallowed by her fierce kiss. Afterward, she caught her breath and pressed me. Adam, when are you going to make an honest woman out of me again? When I win Best Actor. And when will that be? I don't know. Her expression changed, and so did the pressure of her touch. After an exhausting round, I was about to fall asleep when I suddenly remembered something. I was going to be filming deep in the mountains with the award-winning actress Eliza Thorne. I needed to let her know. As soon as I told her, Claire sat up, looking displeased. The memory of the plane crash still scared her. I held her and tried to reassure her. Don't worry. The mountain has all the necessary facilities. It's quite safe. After this movie, I want to go visit Sarah. I wonder how the fishing village is doing now. She nodded. I'll go with you. Okay, let's get some sleep. Is there nothing else you want to say? Nope. Claire narrowed her eyes and pulled me into her arms. Nope? Because I heard there's a kissing scene in this movie, 2 of them, in fact. How do you know more about it than I do? She snorted and started speaking in a sarcastic tone. If I didn't look into it, you wouldn't tell me. Am I supposed to find out at the movie theater to see for myself how badly you've cheated on me? Hey, don't be ridiculous. It's part of the job. It's unavoidable. I never used a body double, so for kissing scenes, I always made sure to give her a heads up. Claire was very understanding, but also very jealous. Adam Vance, you used to have a crush on her. Be honest with me. Have you been waiting for a chance to work with her all this time? She's an Oscar winner. Who wouldn't be? I mumbled, and her face grew darker. Don't be mad. It's not like I took the role for the kissing scenes. It was too late to take it back. She pinned me down again and bit my lip. Adam Vance, if I don't teach you a lesson today, my last name isn't Hayes. When Claire gets jealous, she's terrifying. I almost missed my flight the next day. At the end of the year, for my role in the film with Eliza Thorne, I was nominated for Best Actor. It marked my successful transition from a teen idol to a serious actor. My fans online were ecstatic. People finally recognized my hard work because they had watched me climb my way back up, step by step. On the day of the awards ceremony, Claire was even more nervous than I was. Whether we could get remarried all depended on tonight. Claire and I sat separately. When the host announced the nominees, he dragged it out, teasing the audience. My heart was pounding out of control. Finally, he got to the end. All right, I won't tease you anymore. The winner of this year's award for Best Actor is Adam Vance. Amid the roar of applause, I froze for 2 seconds, then stood up once I was sure I hadn't misheard. The spotlight instantly found me. I waved to the crowd, my eyes welling up with tears. At the same time, all the major social media apps crashed for a few seconds. Mentions of my name skyrocketed by hundreds of thousands. When I got on stage, the applause was deafening. I was actually a little nervous. In the sea of faces, my eyes found Claire's immediately. She smiled at me, looking even prouder than I felt. The stars might dim sometimes, but the moon is always there. I smiled back, my voice firm and confident. Hello, everyone. I'm Adam Vance. Epilogue. My husband is a top-tier idol who has won numerous newcomer awards, and my smartest decision was pursuing him back in college. After we got married, I visited him on set often. After he finished his last project, he was supposed to take a break, but he started acting strangely, often talking to himself. He said he owned a company and had to go to work. One cold winter night, He kicked me out of our bedroom, looked at me coldly, and said our marriage was just for show, and we didn't need to sleep together. Then he said Marcus was the love of my life. But I've only ever loved him. I knew he was sick. I called Dr. Chen. She told me not to provoke him, or it would only make it harder for him to distinguish reality from the script. So I started playing along with his performance. I didn't know how, but I learned. I started a subsidiary company, Summit Entertainment. I hired a legion of actors and extras to create a custom-made environment for him. Even his phone and computer were scrubbed of any access to outside information. I wrapped him in a vacuum-sealed world and patiently helped him find his way out. My dad said I was wasting the family fortune, but what's the point of making money if not to spend it on your husband? Adam stopped wanting to talk to me. He either threw himself into his work or found ways to piss me off. He actually did a decent job running the company. His dual degree in college wasn't for nothing. And I had to keep bringing men home for show. When I saw him smiling at Eliza Thorne, I almost exploded. When is this nightmare going to end? I couldn't even hug him. I had to pretend I despised him. Then one day, Adam wanted a divorce. I went out drinking, trying to find a place to hide. When I heard he was moving out, I rushed back. I couldn't stand seeing him look so hurt, so in the end, I agreed to the divorce. Damn it. A story about a wife groveling to win her ex-husband back? Why do I have to be the one to suffer through this? What kind of twisted screenwriter wrote this bizarre story? I couldn't accept it, so I ran after his car, wanting him to take a good look at me. I'm his wife, Claire Hayes. He promised he would never leave me, but the car just got faster. I couldn't catch him. Dr. Chen said that his behavior was in part a reflection of his true feelings. He longed for independence, for freedom. I understood, but it still broke my heart. All the praise he received was drowned out by the public's doubt, and he had heard every word of it. After the divorce, the hardest part was arranging actors to be with him. He was going to give a speech, so all the extras were in place. But due to a security lapse, his old high school teacher, Mrs. Peterson, accidentally got in. Thankfully, their meeting went smoothly. But my staff told me that even after learning about our high school history, he didn't have much of a reaction. Even that couldn't jog his memory? Adam, don't you love me anymore? I was suddenly terrified. The plane crashed and my team lost him. I sent those idiots to the desert to plant trees. I searched the mountains, the sea, everywhere, but nothing. I didn't eat or sleep for days, just searched for him. It's all my fault. I failed to protect him. Tom said he got a text. Finally, I found him in a remote mountain village. I held him tight and never wanted to let go again. Adam had lost so much weight. I cooked for him, but he wouldn't eat. His memory started showing signs of returning. It wasn't until his father's visit that his deepest memories were triggered. He finally broke free from the script. He said he wanted to make a comeback. I said, okay. He said he wanted to be himself. I said, okay. He said we could only get remarried after he won Best Actor. But thankfully my Adam worked so hard, and he won. Watching him accept the award, I cried secretly. In the middle of the night, I was too excited to sleep, so I called Dr. Chen. She thought something was wrong and sounded worried. I said, nothing's wrong, my husband is Best Actor. She hung up on me. Then I called Greg. Today, Adam was in a good mood, and we went to City Hall. Holding our marriage certificate again, I felt like crying. Finally, my Adam was back.